So I don't know if anybody really been paying attention to movies and stuff like that, but Demon Slayer whooped the absolute brakes, pissing shit out of, the American movies, right? Or at least Fantastic Four when it comes down to it, right? Which leads into some nonsense because now there's tariffs on movies that is not made in America. And why does it just feel like a giant dick sucking contest all over again? Granted, that is basically every time a situation like this happens, it just turns into a dick sucking competition. Who actually is really damn good, who actually produces the better shit, and when then, one person actually do better than the another person, and it's usually the Western people, they get pissed off about things when they don't get their shit properly worked on and properly get praised and whatever. They start hoeing everybody else. That is kind of how literally they always have been, and it's just never really been a great time. It's where levels of racism and levels of like xenophobic type of like elements come into play, because obviously we can clearly see, things like anime, things like Eastern games and whatever are easily better and oftentimes are going to get recommended way more than what you would get in a Western environment, right? And that's only because the Western environment, when it comes to entertainment, is so see-through. It's something that is so see-through to the point that it's not really surprising of anything that they do at this point, right? They can make whatever game that they want to, remake something whatever they want to, and it will still end up basically a piss and shit slop of agendas or basically some type of political power move or political beliefs or whatever, to the point it's just like we see this already. We know what this is going to be about, so don't be surprised when shit flops like, it's like some type of Dragon Age the Veilguard, or it's like some Star Wars Outlaws or whatever the hell that you got out there, right? People want to be entertained. They want to actually be, told a story that is done excellently. That's why a lot of times anime and, games that's from the East are superior and hit harder than what we can actually get in the West, right? Because they're not necessarily just so super see-through. And maybe if I was Japanese and I was over there, maybe I would say the same thing about how I feel about the stuff over here. But when it comes down to it, they just do it well. They feel passionate about what they're doing. They feel like they're actually giving a damn about what they actually want to produce. And that is actually a really good thing, right? Lots of times where, even the most simplest of anime, the simplest of cartoons to be made from over there, wherever it is, they oftentimes still put some type of effort to it. Even the most weirdest and dumbest thing to be created still has effort put into it, where in the West that just does not exist. It just isn't a thing, and that just kind of what it really has always been. It's why the comic book industry is ass right now, because there's not really any good stories to be told. You have great characters, and that's the thing, the West always had great characters. There's plenty of great characters that hasn't been seen in so damn long, like in the early 2000s. It was just stacked with great characters. It was stacked with literally things that people genuinely wanted to see. The only issue with that is now is that because people has changed over time to the point more so focus things on like, agendas and their feelings, and, not necessarily going so crazy to the point they, are scared to offend people. Now it's like we get characters and stuff like that. Now it's just not necessarily that good. The only thing that they're good for is literally Rule 34 material, and barely even that sometimes, right? Literally, there's not really many Western characters I could sit here and just straight up be thinking within the period of now in the 2020s from the West that I am like super down for, versus, someone like over there in the East when it comes to anime and games and whatever, right? That just genuinely how it is. Things like a GTA should be hella exciting for people when it comes down to it, right? You should be hella excited for GTA 6. You should be extra ready for that game when it comes out. It should be hella fun, and it probably will have elements of being fun, right? But ultimately, now it's like we have to worry about, is they gonna be removing some sensitive shit from GTA as a whole? Right? Or are we gonna have to have moments where things obviously don't make sense in the story of GTA 6, and that's just gonna be how it is, like the typical Western stories? We shouldn't be asking questions of that from a game as a legendary like GTA, right? We should not be asking questions about something like that because we should know what to expect when it comes to Grand Theft Auto in general. However, we have to ask those questions because we've been dealt that very same hand again and again and again of something really cool that should be cool, only for it to turn out not to be so great, right? And that's why you get people that are hella excited for games like Atlanta, right? To basically be the answer to GTA 6, right? Especially where we live in a day and age where basically everything is expensive as hell. You can't necessarily save money too much anymore. You barely be able to afford to buy things that you really want to go get for entertainment value and stuff like that. It's hard to get those type of things now. It's insanely hard to get those things going, and it sucks so much ass. It genuinely does, and it should not be this way, yet it is this way, right? Like, people are hella excited for Atlanta, and they're gonna be continuing to be excited for it, right? Because it's free to play. Of course they're gonna go ahead and drop that game next year if they can, because why the hell wouldn't you? It's a free to play Grand Theft Auto experience with anime aesthetics, with guns and all the fun cool shit that is in a GTA game or could be in a GTA game, but with anime characters. Are you shitting me? Well, fancy me with a good ass time. Things like Neverness to Everness, again, same thing, but paranormal, which is also, again, very damn cool, you know? And a lot of other stuff too. Like, a lot of these game journalists as well go as far as to be like, you know what? Y'all just like these gooner shit. You like this other stuff, and you know, y'all like it. Y'all like this other weird things when we have lots of people that are very sensitive to our feelings and things like this. Good representation and all that sort of stuff, and then they be wondering why the hell people, you know, don't pay for experiences like that, or very much go out their way to be like, yeah, these people don't know what they want, they don't know what they're talking about, this game was good, y'all just are assholes, and all that sort of stuff, when in reality, we're not really assholes, we just want good products, we just want good things. To be real, the most unfortunate part about consumers, but it is what it is that we don't give a shit about what the game is or what, you know, the thing is going to do. We just want to basically have a good product, and we'll consume that thing, and that is it. That is how you can tell us if it's a good thing or not. If many people consume it and it's actually good, and we continue to get more of it. That is literally how it is, right? So a lot of the Western movie industry has not necessarily been hitting hard as really at all. It hasn't been producing any good content whatsoever. So plenty of people went over to anime, and then yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hard focus on that. If you decide to, as a Hollywood person, director or whatever, decide to go to the anime industry, try to force them to make more, or try to make some, you know, American style like content or with American IPs or whatever, which is something I very much already said I don't like. But when it comes down to it though, if they start doing shit like that, then their shit is going to flop as well. Again, the only bad part about that is that obviously it's going to hurt the studios as well when it comes down to it. And it's not going to be because the studio effed up somewhere, it's because of the hella big restrictions and how, you know, the Western heads is going to be around those certain things. That's why people are scared about, you know, Infinity Castle doing so well, is because it's going to provide a way for people in the West to come through, try to get what they want, and then try to do what they're going to do with that sort of thing, which, again, I understand the fear when it comes down to it. It's something that we talked about a long time ago, right? And ultimately, it's not going to be just out of respect that they come over there or anything like that. No, it's just to see how much money we can make by doing so much less and not putting so much money into a project. That is literally how it is, and that's what they all have cared about. Because again, I do need to, you know, make sure that we're all on the same page here. When, you know, you have basically a Western game and an Eastern game come through, and essentially that Eastern game slap harder, the West will do anything in their power to basically shit on that Eastern game, no matter what it takes. Wukong is a good example of that, basically going out their way to say the studio is ass, they had like a lot of sexual harassment things go on or whatever the hell, which was obviously not really true, and essentially they should have won Game of the Year, but they just did not win Game of the Year because, you know, damn well there have been a fight on the Western side with other Westerners, and then obviously you would know that basically those very same people would have been understood to be liars when it comes down to the consumers if something of theirs won and it wasn't like a split decision between something that's pretty damn good and not necessarily too Eastern, but something that's not too Western. That's why Astro Boy, or Astro Bot won that day. Or basically when you had just tons of things in general, like the localization of anime, how they have been hoeing, Japan and their meanings of their shows for years. You had basically something like Samurai Kagura, where they basically tried to hoe that game and try to kill that as much as possible, which is why the IP is unfortunately a bit dead right now. Same thing with Dead or Alive right now. It's basically in the same position. We should be having, with all the renaissances, all these fighting games coming back, we should be having a Dead or Alive game to come through at some point in time, yet for whatever reason we just don't. And if it does come back, there's a terrifying chance that that game is not going to have as much sex appeal as the older games have done, right, to keep it the way it should be. That's why, crazy enough, you have people like China coming through to make their own games, or South Korea to come through and make their own games. That's why you have, hell, even Saudi Arabia at points in time to come through and help out with this sort of thing, because yeah, people are gonna buy those products from those countries or help, support the games that they like if they are owned from those countries or whatever, because they know what people actually want. Saudi Arabia owns SNK, or at least they have a stake in SNK when it comes down to it, which is your King of Fighters and stuff. Why do you think Mai Shiranui and all the other girls look fine as hell in those games? Because they're not on the same BS as the West is, right? They're just genuinely not. And that's what people are tired of. They're tired of the Western nonsense when it comes down to it. They liked the olden days of the West, where we had fine bitches like Raven and Starfire and Gwen from, Ben 10, and even the other Gwen from like Total Drama Island and all these other stuff. Things like Code Lyoko that was brought over here and things like that. We had a bunch of fine ass characters, really good storytellings and all that sort of stuff, but because we're so into our sensitive ass feelings in the West, because we're so trying to act like we're better than everybody else when we're really not, that's essentially why a lot of entertainment is ass now in the West. Why so many people go over to the eastern side of things and try to see what's actually cooking over there, but then the West gets mad and then want to hoe them because they're doing better than you, when you should be trying to make the better products and actually give your people what you want, what they want actually. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't. Overall, it just comes down to a simple fact that the East very much knows how to provide for people, knows not to be on some weird dick ass timing. And it's crazy too, especially in Japan, how a lot of these devs in the gaming industry already know there's bullshit in the air. That's why you had the guy that made Dragon Quest kind of at last year talked about this very same issue with like the whole female slot character of the character customization thing, taking the genders out of it, trying to put like type 1, type 2, and he was just asking like, who the hell's asking for this type of shit? Who wants this type of shit to be a thing, right? And that's exactly the damn point. We are all asking who the hell, and we already know who the answer is. They just will never effing admit it, right? Instead of trying to tear down somebody because they did something better than you, why not try to see what you can do to kind of get yourself brought back from the dead so you can actually make things work out, right? I promise you, if people were to stop having a dick sucking competition over who is better or which way is right and which side to lean on, and which however type of person you are, and just look at how things actually work and look at what people actually would want and need and stuff like that, even on a real life level of like things like finances and actually getting to do what they need to do and stuff like that, I promise you shit would not be nearly as bad as it is if people started to just open up and listen for 5 seconds. Hell, we live in a day and age where people constantly meme on the idea of trying to get with a different person from a different country in like the East and whatever. That says a lot, honestly. It says a lot that our own country sucks ass when it comes to a fair amount of people that exist over here, to the point that you need to go to another country just to go actually get somebody that's more for you, and hopefully that will be chilling with you in some shape or form, right? I'm always thinking about the damn meme on TikTok where there was like this one Asian lady that was like, we have a repopulation problem in Japan and we need some strong guys to come over here and help repopulate. And literally there was like a boat full of people coming through, just be like, we on the way, hold up now. That says a lot. It shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this way, but it says a lot though. That is the standard of people want to be passport bros or passport boys or whatever the hell, or passport girls and all that sort of stuff, because they like shit better over there than what it is over here. To the levels of entertainment, to the levels of people. It's ridiculous, it's crazy, but it is true. And literally all the West needs to do is just focus up and listen. Will they do that? No, because it's like Ed Wunsler said in the Boondocks. We are Americans. We don't quit because we're wrong. We just keep doing the wrong thing until it turns out right, which is the most saddest and unfortunately truest statement of all time. And that's just how it is though. But ultimately though, that's really what I wanted to say for this one. So, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on our way out. Also follow on socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi Cash App is available as well. And until then, Boy J, sign off. Have a blessed day.